I just uploaded a video where I was repairing a Scoopic, which is this, if you don't know. And I recorded that video at a different location. It's probably good interest to talk about what I basically did. And that's complicated because this repair goes back many months. I'll do a full breakdown of this camera in a different video. But basically, this is a Canon Scoopic. It's a 16mm camera. Takes 100-foot spools. Has different shutter options right there. Has an auto exposure and a manual exposure. Very simple, very easy. There's two power inputs. There's the battery compartment in the top here. And it takes a 12-volt battery, something like this. And then there's a external input right there. Somebody took one of the Scoopics out, the one I was trying to repair, out. They had the external battery plugged in, and they basically started running the camera, and there's a little run, and then you turn it over here, you can see it says, let's see, that RL, that stands for run lock. So you click down and move it over, and that button won't come back out. But you can just push it down and it'll come back out, push it, flip it over, and it'll stay running. So they did that not knowing and ripped the power cable out to turn the camera off. And that broke the camera. I'll just kind of exchange some of the pieces. It gave me a different part Scoopic, so I went to try and do that, but then what happened was the parts when I got was a different model, and someone had already tried to repair that, or they were taking parts from it, and there was a lot less camera than I initially thought. So I was left with a broken Scoopic and like half of a Scoopic. There were a few things that I thought it might be. So I think what we'll do is I will try to take this off. Here we are. So this front cover or side cover, whatever, just lifts off. As you can see, that's pretty much all there is there. Okay, so here we have, this is it basically. This is like the brain kind of sits up here. That would be the film amp and the electric eye amp. And for anyone who doesn't know, electric eye is this thing. And that is what Canon referred to as their auto exposure mechanism. In all of their cameras, really, it's all denoted as an electric eye. Even a Canonet, that little cell right there is called an electric eye. Here you can see is the shutter speed selector. Here are all of the wires leading in from the brain into here, and here's the on-off switch basically. This is the single frame lever. This is one of the motors. There's another motor back there, which is the servo motor for the aperture. And all of these little dudes, these are all variable resistors, which basically control the power and create different levels of resistance for the different shutter speeds. So my first thought was the sudden power shortage probably overloaded one of the systems. So if you listen, that clicking sound are micro switches, and those rest in here underneath. I'll just show you. The micro switches sit under here, and this lifts off fairly easily. I'm not going to be able to do it because I don't really need to take it off, but I replaced the micro switches with micro switches from the other camera because they weren't getting the proper readouts when basically how micro switch works is if you hear it, that clicking sound is the switch being depressed by this lever. And when it does that, then it routes the power through, as opposed to before when the power is just stationary, basically. So it creates flow for the circuit. So those are bad. I replaced those. And then there's this diode which controls the power flow. So I thought that was probably bad, so I replaced that too. But with the diode from the parts cameras, I don't know if it was good or bad. I don't know. There's a transistor right here that sits on the shutter speed selector. So I basically ripped this whole thing out and replaced it with the parts one because I thought maybe that would work because this transistor on the broken one was not working, and that still didn't work. So I was at a loss for what to do for many months, and just kind of, it sat here, and I felt bad about it because I was like, I can't figure this out. Until finally, one of my buddies at the school was like, hey, you should bring that camera in, we could work at it. And I said, okay, sounds like a plan. Just brought it in, was looking at it, and he had no clue, I had no clue. And finally we go through some of the other parts cameras that he had, because there was apparently many broken ones and stuff, and found one that the take-up spool was not working at all. And the take-up spool, this is basically the take-up spool, and so you see how it moves like that. When you're running the camera, it pulls the film through, as well as other little motors and actuators in there. But that was not working on this parts camera, so I thought, grabbed a battery and was able to get power and the motor running through the parts camera. So I said, why don't I just pull the good body from one camera and replace it with the good electronics from another, which is the video that is shown there. First, in the video, I'm taking apart basically it's the parts camera, but I'm using all the parts, so we'll just call it camera 2. I'm taking apart camera 2, making sure that it still functions and everything like that. And then the second camera would be camera 1, which is the camera I initially got. And then basically all I did from that point was take camera 2 and put it into the shell of camera 1. At that point, got a functioning Scoopic. The only thing was that in camera 2, the film gate, which is this system right here, which is what holds the film to the film plane, this was taken out, I'm assuming for parts for another repair. And these little flathead screws were the hardest thing to get out, I swear to you. Like, it was challenging. It took me a while. Once I got the right screwdriver, it seemed to work okay. But yeah, they were in there. So that's basically a walkthrough of the Canon Scoopic repair. I thought it was worth a little bit of annotation to really go through what I did. And yeah, it wasn't an easy process, and a lot of trial and error, a lot of trial. But yeah, no, I feel like pretty confident with these cameras now. Like, they're complicated little machines, but at the end of the day, they make more sense to me. So good experience, I would say. Very big headache, but definitely feel like I've grown through it. So that was kind of a rundown of the Canon Scoopic repair. I hope you enjoyed the video, because I thought it kind of turned out okay. I kind of got a weird angle with the camera, but I just set up my camera really quickly because I wanted to repair that thing and get out of there. So anyway, hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, comment below, email me, whatever. But thank you for watching, and I will catch you on the next one.